in this war. I spoke with the president of Mexico, very nice woman, very fine woman, and I said, let me ask you, you're sending a lot of drugs into our country. We're not liking it at all. Can't do that. But I said, is Mexico, does it have much of a drug? She said, no, we're not a consuming nation. I thought it was an interesting term.
That's right. Mexico is not a consumer country. The United States is a consumer country. And the question that must be answered is why the United States is a consumer country. If you want to act responsibly and not as a victim, but as an accountable, the question that must be answered is why the United States is a consumer country. If you want to continue acting as a victim, the questions that you're going to continue asking is why some other countries are manufacturing them, why some other countries are shipping them. But again, if you want to find a solution, you need to answer the question why the United States is a consumer country.
And I said, why? And which I've heard also, by the way, they're not a consuming nation. They distribute, but they don't consume. But I said, why are you not a consumer? Well, we're very close with family. I said, so we're very close with family too.
And there is clearly the issue. Not even the president of the United States understands the differences between a Mexican family and an American family. Mexican families, they tend to stay together, united for longer. There's no rush for the kids to leave home. There's no rush like in the United States that once the kids reach college age, parents are looking forward for such kid to leave home, and even kids are looking forward to leave home. Why? There's where you need to answer that question. Why parents are looking forward for kids to leave home and kids are looking forward to leave home. That's a big difference between families in Mexico and in the United States. And there, once you really understand the reasons and the big differences between how families operate in Mexico and how families operate in the United States, you're going to understand what is causing the United States to be a consumer nation.
Family too. I mean, our families are being devastated and we're just as close. Why else? She said, well, we spend a lot of money on advertising saying how bad drugs are. They're very rough ads. They show the skin falling off and the teeth falling out and going blind and losing hair and everything that these things do. You look like you just came out of a horrible concentration camp. And she said it was, they're rough ads.
And something that probably was not shared during that conversation between the Mexican president and the US president is it's not only about the government campaigns. It's about families are so united in Mexico that they don't feel scared about having difficult conversations. Yes, I've seen many families in the United States in which parents don't feel comfortable having that difficult conversation. And having that difficult conversation is communicating with your kids and make sure that you understand what are they doing, and if they're doing something that they shouldn't, to have that difficult conversation and communicate what are the things that could happen, the consequences, if the kids continue doing such things.
And it's not often that I feel I've learned something from a phone call, because I've had a lot of phone calls over my life, but I realized right then and there what a great idea that is. And we have hired Susie, a great person who did a lot of our campaign work, and we've come up with an advertising campaign that's, I think, really incredible. More than anything else, it's terrible to watch. Terrible to watch. It's the only way it's going to work. And I would be, because we got the numbers down, 18% would have a blue ribbon committee headed by the First Lady of the United States, who everyone loves, and some of her friends. And, you know, they work so hard, but it's an incredible idea. So I thank the President of Mexico, actually. It was a call on tariffs, and we talked about drugs. And she gave me an idea that I think will be very successful, and based on what I saw, it's going to be amazing. Under our leadership, this department is once again laser focused on protecting the American people.
Well, the government campaigns are a good start. However, you need a cultural transformation. What do I mean with that? As I said, families in Mexico and the United States operate different. You need to make sure that parents in the United States feel comfortable having those difficult conversations. Because what this is telling you is that even the parents have somehow relationship with their kids and kids have somehow relationship with their parents, it's not the same relationship that you get to see in the Mexican families, where you can have difficult conversations. It's a relationship that is based on confidence and trust and approachability. So you need a cultural transformation to make sure that parents in the United States are going to be ready to be parents, and to make sure that from home they prevent this big situation that has resulted in having the United States being a consumer nation or consumer country. So these are my comments for Mr. Trump. Bye.